to the 4th day of Kritya International Poetry Festival. Our distinguished poet guest for this beautiful evening are Pratishtha Pandya, Sylvia Eugina Castellero, who will be joining us, Nilambri Ghai, Swati Deepak Damodare, Margaret Saine, Hannie Rouweler, Mandakini Pachori, and Azeem Thannimoodu. Now I cordially invite Kritya International Poetry Festival's director, Pratishtha. Welcome, ma'am. Please join us.
Namaskar. Welcome to Kritya International Poetry Festival. This is the 4th day and 2nd session. We have started this poetry festival in 2005, and it was the first, or I think only, nomadic poetry festival, because we were moving in the country in a different state, because India has 28 official languages, so we were going to different languages and states. This is the only poetry festival which believes in going to audience. We believe in poetic therapy. We go to different places like orphanage, old age home, prisons, hospitals, with our poets, with a poetic therapy. So this is not a place where just we talk and discuss with a very hi-fi audience, and for us the poetry is therapy. In this pandemic time, Kritya has worked very hard. In 2020, when the pandemic started, in August itself, it was our first poetry festival, which was for 10 days. It was recorded poetry festival. In that festival, almost 300 poets around the world took part. Then we have 3 days Central America Poetry Festival, and then we have 75 Kritya talks, in which we talk about poetry, art, literature, and dance, music, history, and many other things. So we are just trying to cope with this pandemic, this difficult time around the world, with poetry. This session is also important, as every session is important for us. And this session, we have poets from different languages, like Pratishtha is from Gujarati, from Mandakini is from Vienna and writes in English. Swati is writing in Marathi. Margaret, I think, is writing in English. Hani is writing in Dutch. Nilambre is writing English and Hindi. I think I heard Hindi poetry also. So, and we have Smitha Sehgal. She is 3 languages perfect, because she knows 3 languages, South, North, and other languages. So I welcome you again. I welcome to my audience who are here to present poetry therapy. I always tell you that I always inform my audience, please don't panic if our audio is not good or our visual is not good, because we are only poets. We are doing in very humble places on our laptop or mobile. We don't have big studios. We are not in a film studios. This is not a recorded thing. This is online and live. Welcome to all my friends. Thank you very much. Pooja, Smitha, it is up to you.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you. Now we enter the beautiful session of a poetry reading. We first invite Pratishtha Pandya. Pratishtha Pandya is a bilingual poet who writes in Gujarati and English. She is also a translator. She has presented her poems at various literary festivals and prestigious forums. Pratishtha, please join us.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Smitha. Thank you, Ratiji. Let me begin by thanking Ratiji first. She and her fabulous team for inviting me to this festival. But more than that, for continuing in 10-day celebration of poetry, especially at a time when the world around us is getting darker and darker. And we often ask questions about the meaning of life and the meaning of poetry itself. So thank you very much for doing this. I'll begin with a poem that I wrote in 2020 when I saw the exodus of migrant laborers protesting on the streets as the state imposed a nationwide lockdown in India, leaving them without any means of transportation to go back to their distant villages. And also looking at our middle class response, consuming this news that was constantly being transmitted through the television and other social media. The poem I will first read in Gujarati and then I'll read my English translation. Lal Kidiyo. રસોડાના પ્લેટફોર્મ પર ખાંડ ઢોળાય ત્યારે કે પછી કોઈ વંદો મરી ગયો હોય. બારસાખની નીચે ખાણામાંના દરમાંથી નીકળીને ઊભી સીધી જમણે નીચે ને પછી એક લાંબી હરોળમાં થઈને આવી પહોંચતી એકની પાછળ એક શિસ્તબદ્ધ હરોળમાં ચાર કામદારો જેવી લાલ કીડીઓ. એક ખાંડનો ટીકડો કે આખે આખું વંદાનું ખોળ્યું ખેંચીને પાછી વળતી બિલકુલ એમ જ એકની પાછળ એક કીડીઓને જોઈને એને બહુ ચિતરી ચડતી. ઘાટા પાડી પાડીને એ માને બોલાવતી કીડીઓની ખબર લેવા. તે આજે જાણે વર્ષો જૂનો હિસાબ ચૂકતે કરવા ના માંગતી હોય એમ ચડી આવી. ખબર નહીં કે એમની આ અડધી રાતે કોઈ ભયાનક સપના જેવી અઢળક લાલ કીડીઓ. એના ઘરમાં કોઈ હરોળ, કોઈ નિયમ, કોઈ શિસ્ત વિનાની મા દર પર ગેમેક્સિનનો પાવડર છાંટીને બહાર નીકળી આવે ને એવા બેબાકળી તરફડતી કીડીઓના ટોળામાં ના હોય એમ ઉભરાઈ આવી કીડીઓ. એકવાર તો ઝડપથી ઝાડુ કરીને બધી બગીચામાં ફેંકી ફટાફટ દરવાજા બંધ કર્યા. પણ ત્યાં તો બારીઓની ફાડમાંથી દરવાજા નીચેની સાવ સાંકડી ન દેખાયવી જગ્યામાંથી ચાવીના કાણામાંથી બારસાખની તિરાડમાંથી બાથની ખાળની જાળીના ઝીણા કાણામાંથી ફરસ પરની એક એક લાદી વચ્ચે ભર્યા સિમેન્ટના પોલાણમાંથી સ્વિચબોર્ડ ને દિવાલથી અમસ્તી તિરાડમાંથી કબાટોના અંધારામાંથી ખાટલા નીચેના ખાલીપામાંથી ઉભરાઈ ઉભરાઈને આવી રહ્યા બેબાકળી કીડીઓના ટોળે ટોળા. કોઈએ વેર વિખેર કરેલા તોડેલા ખતમ કરી નાખેલા એમના ઘર શોધતી. કોઈની ચપટીમાં કોઈના પગલા તળે ગુંગળાઈ ગયેલા પોતાના દર શોધતી. ભૂખી તરસી ભરીને ભારોભાર ચટકા અંદર કીડી. Red ants. Tiny red ants came out from a little cot at the bottom right corner of the door frame of the kitchen, walking in one straight line, going up, then left, then down, and then in a straight line again across the kitchen platform, marching in one single file, one after the other, like a disciplined lot of laborers. They came every time when Ma dropped some sugar, or if there was a dead cockroach on the kitchen floor. She found the sight of these ants pulling each grain or an entire carcass away, walking back in the same disciplined fashion, nauseous. She would scream her head off until Mother came running to her rescue. Today, as if to settle some old score, they invaded her house. She wonders how in the middle of the night, like some nightmare, they were there, innumerable red ants inside her house. No line, no order, no discipline. They came out, entire colonies, like they used to when Ma put some gamexin powder on the nest moons. Frantic, agitated, struggling to breathe, they invade her home. She sweeps them out of the living room, out in the garden, and closes the door tight. But just then they surface millions at a time from behind the windowsills, from the spaces beneath the door that can hardly be seen, from the cracks in the door, from the little keyhole in the main door, from the holes in the bathroom drains, from the gaps in the white cement between the tiles and the floor, from behind the switchboard, from the moist crevices on the wall, from the hollowness of the cables, from the emptiness under the bed. Traumatized colonies of ants overflow, looking for their homes, broken, destroyed, devastated, searching for their lives. crushed between someone's fingers, suffocating beneath someone's feet. Hungry colonies, thirsty colonies, angry colonies, colonies of red bites, gasping for breath, colonies of red ants. The second poem is from a couple of poems that I wrote about women I encountered in mythologies while growing up. Draupadi. સમયના પાને પાને નામ લખ્યા હતા સૌના પારા ફરતી. આ સમય અર્જુનનો હતો. અડધી રાતે એની મરજી મુજબ દ્રૌપદીના શરીર પર ફરી વળતો, ગૂંધતો સ્તનો, ફંફોસતો પગ વચ્ચેની જગ્યા, શોધતો પોતાનો અહંકાર, પોતાનો આનંદ એના શરીરમાં. એ પૂછતો દ્રૌપદીને કે એને કયો સમય સૌથી વધુ ગમે છે. 5 ભાઈઓમાંથી એને સૌથી વધુ કયો ગમે છે. જ્યારે એ દ્રૌપદીને ચૂમે તો કોના હોઠનો મલકાટ એને મન રમે છે? એની જીભ પર કોની જીભનો રસસ્ત્રાવ જમે છે? શું કોઈ હથેળીની ખારાશ એની આસપાસ આજ પણ ભમે છે? કોઈના શરીરની વાસ શું આજના ઉન્માદમાં ભળે છે? એ દ્રૌપદીને મળે છે ત્યારે શું માત્ર દ્રૌપદી એને જ મળે છે કે એની બંધ આંખ તળે બીજા કેટલાને મળે છે? અર્જુન દ્રૌપદીને પકડી ભાઈઓની જૂઠી કરેલી કેરી પરની છાલ ઉતારતો હોય એના વસ્ત્રો ખેંચે છે. બંધ ફરી એકવાર ગોળ 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 ફરે છે દ્રૌપદી. મનમાં તો કૃષ્ણને સ્મરે છે. Draupadi. The names appear one after the other, one on each page. This one has Arjun on it. In the middle of the night, he roams over Draupadi's body, kneading her breasts, searching the place between her thighs, restless, seeking his go, his pleasure in her body. He asks her again and again which time she likes the best, which out of the 5 brothers she prefers over the rest. Does anyone else's smile play on her mind when he kisses her? Does she taste on his tongue? Does she feel someone's salty palms around her this night as well? Does the smell of another's bodies mix with tonight's excitement? Is Draupadi with him and him alone when she meets him? Or does she meet many more behind those closed eyelids? Arjun holds Draupadi and peels her clothes off, like the peel of a mango half eaten by brothers. And Draupadi once again shuts her eyes and turns round and round and round and round. Her mind remembers only Krishna. That's the poem that I'm going to read. I will read only in Gujarati. It's like a little instruction, a little lesson on how to appreciate the poems that women write. કાવ્યનો આદ કરવા રીત. મારી કવિતાને હાથમાં કેમ ઝાલવી એ જો હું તને શીખવી શકું. સૌ પહેલા તને હાથમાં એમ ઝાલવાની જાણે ઝાલી જ નથી. નપી હથેળીની મોકળાશમાં તારા પ્રેમના કોકરવર્ણા અજવાશમાં ખીલવા દેવાની એક એક પાન. હળવેથી ઉંચકીને એક પછી એક શબ્દ ફૂલ, સફેદ, નારંગી, પારિજાત ભરી લેવાની એની મગમગ સુવાસ ઘેરા 2-4 શ્વાસમાં. જાણે વાર અંદર ન ભરી રહ્યો હોય, એ સ્મૃતિઓને એક સામટી ભરી લેવા માંગતો હોય. જાણે તું એ સુગંધ પર સવારે એ શ્વાસની વાટે કોઈની સામ લગ પહોંચવા ન માંગતો હોય એમ. જો હું તને શીખવી શકું મારી કવિતાને ચાહતા, એના સાચા સ્વરોને વીણતા, છૂટા પાડતા, ઘેરા, જાંબુડી, લગભગ કાળા, લાંબા, મોટા એક તરફ ને પેલા ઝીણા, રતુંબડા, થોડા કાચા બીજી તરફ. ચાખતા એની જાંબુડી છાલની સુંવાળી લીલી ભીનાશ તારા હોઠ પરે. એના રસભર્યા ઝાંખા ગુલાબી, સફેદ, તીખા ધરતીની મેઘભર્યા અંતર તલમાં તારા ઉતાવળા દાંત તું ભોંકે એ પહેલા મારી કવિતાને ચાખવામાં તારી ધીરજ જોઈશે. તારી કાલા ખટ્ટા જીભ એના રંગ પર એ પહેલા તૈયાર કરવું પડશે તારા હૃદયને એની તૂટી મીઠાશને સ્વીકારવા માટે. ત્યારે જે ખીલશે મારી દેશી ગ્રીષ્મ તારી જીભ પર.
Thank you, Nilambri. Thank you, Pratishtha, for that very, very beautiful and evocative poetry. The agony of Red Ants, the agony of Draupadi, very beautifully expressed. Thank you. We now call upon Nilambri Ghai. Nilambri Ghai is an Indian poet based in Canada. An active social worker, she takes keen interest in literature. Nilambriji, welcome on stage. Please join us.
Nilambre ji, you have to unmute your mic, please. Oh, you are in separate. She has some net problem.
Okay. We will now move on to
No,
Swati.
no, she's there.
Yeah,
she's there. Okay.
Nilambriji, please join us.
Hello.
Yes, ma'am. Please join us.
Thank you to Kritya for inviting me. I'm going to read 3 of my poems. The first one, Metro Clown, is located within the metro or underground subway train system in Montreal, a city in the province of Quebec, Canada. Train stations such as Berry are large, busy, intersecting places, whereas stations like Lionel Gros and Saint Laurent are small and less frequented. My second poem is called Daughter. It's a conversation between a mother and her daughter who was moved away to a distant land.
I think she has very bad internet problem. She's coming again and again. We will invite her the other time. You please invite who has better net, please. She has bad net problem, internet problem. Nilambre, can you continue?
Yes, I will.
Because
continue.
you are.
The third
Okay,
poem
please,
on reading. Can you hear me?
No,
the third poem on reading Manto and Monroe is written in the form of dramatic verse and
she has a problem. We can invite someone else, please. Please invite someone else.
We now welcome Swati Deepak Damodare. Swati is a poet from Maharashtra, India. Credit. She has published a book of translated poems in 2019. Swati, please join us.
Thank you very much. At the outset, I would like to thank Kritya International, Rati ma'am, Dr. Prithviraj Taur and Smitha ma'am for this better communication and for inviting me to this event. I am very happy to become part of this festival and I would like to be in future with this festival and also with Kritya. So at the outset, I would like to thank all of you. I'm going to read my 2 poems that are in Marathi and then Smitha ma'am will read in the translations in English. So this is my first poem. I am going to read in Marathi, of course. तू शांततेचा शब्द लिहिशील, तू शांततेचा शब्द लिहिशील, तेव्हा मी जवळच आसपास असेन. तू शांततेचा शब्द लिहिशील, तेव्हा मी जवळच आसपास असेन. तुझ्या तळमळीची साथीदार बनेन, अभिव्यक्तीची साक्षीदार ठरेन. तोवर तुझ्या अस्वस्थ मनाला गर्भातल्या बाळासारखं जपेन, शिंपल्यातल्या मोत्यासारखं राखेन, मोगऱ्यातल्या गंधासारखं सांभाळेन. तू लिहिशील तुझी ओळ मित्रा, तू लिहिशील तुझी ओळ मित्रा, तुझी ओळख पटवून देणारी, जगाचं लक्ष वेधून घेताना काळजात समाधान पेरणारी, जगाचं लक्ष वेधून घेताना काळजात समाधान पेरणारी. तू लिहिशील जेव्हा ओळ तुझी, तू लिहिशील जेव्हा ओळ तुझी, ती सगळ्यांचीच होऊन जाईल. तू लिहिशील जेव्हा ओळ तुझी, ती सगळ्यांचीच होऊन जाईल. तुझ्या ओळीच्या पायाशी मी पूर्ण विराम होऊन विश्रांती घेईल. तुझ्या ओळीच्या पायाशी मी पूर्ण विराम होऊन विश्रांती घेईल. Over to Smitha for translation.
Thank you.
Smitha.
Yes. The poem is translated by the poet. When you will write the word of peace, I will be there with you. Partner of your efforts, witness of your expression, I will protect your disturbed mind like fetus in the womb, like a pearl in an oyster, like fragrance in flower. You will express yourself one day. That expression will define you, that will grab attention of world and will bring heartfelt satisfaction. When you will express yourself in that wonderful line, the line will be the expression of the world. I'll become full stop of your line, and I will stay peacefully in the shadow of your line. Over to Swati for the next poem.
So I'm going to start my second one. I'm going to start in Marathi, of course. एकदा माझ्या डोळ्यात बघून, एकदा माझ्या डोळ्यात बघून थेट तसा हसशील का? एकदा माझ्या डोळ्यात बघून थेट तसा हसशील का? पहिल्यांदा भेटलो होतो तसा पुन्हा भेटशील का? पहिल्यांदा भेटलो होतो तसा पुन्हा भेटशील का? मी ही कोवळी अलवार होते, आपल्या स्वतःत मशगूल होते. मी ही कोवळी अलवार होते, आपल्या स्वतःत मशगूल होते. रावण दृष्टीशी अपरिचित, रावण दृष्टीशी अपरिचित स्वप्नांचे झुले बांधत होते. फाडून टाकावं वाघानं पाडस, फाडून टाकावं वाघानं पाडस, तसलं त्यांचं ते विकृत धाडस. सोलून काढावीत त्वचेची लक्तर, सोलून काढावीत त्वचेची लक्तर, तशी उसवली माझी अस्तर. कपडे माती केस हातपाय, कपडे माती केस हातपाय, रक्तानी सगळं पार भिजलं. कपडे माती केस हातपाय, रक्तानी सगळं पार भिजलं. जगणं मरणं प्रेम भीती माझ्या डोळ्यांमधून थिजलं. काही क्षणच का हाती उरावेत, काही क्षणच का हाती उरावेत, स्वप्नांसाठी ते कसे रे पुरावेत. निदान निदान आठवणीतून माझ्या तू मधुर भेटींचे क्षण पेरावे. निदान आठवणीतून माझ्या तू मधुर भेटींचे क्षण पेरावे. मीही थोडं हसीन म्हणते, मीही थोडं हसीन म्हणते, वेदना थोड्या विसरीन म्हणते. जाता जाता तुझ्या ओंजळीत, जाता जाता तुझ्या ओंजळीत हसऱ्या आठवणी ठेवीन म्हणते, हसऱ्या आठवणी ठेवीन म्हणते. Over to Smitha for translation.
Thank you, Swati. Again, the poem is translated by the poet herself. Will you please smile once again, peeping in my eyes, the same way you smiled when we met for the first time? Dear, I was an innocent girl then, completely unaware of Ravana gaze, busy in weaving my beautiful dreams, and you were always a part of them. But someday, unexpectedly, someone behaved abnormally with me, just like a tiger killing a deer, pulling out the complete skin and flesh. Went on tearing all my organs, my clothes, hair, body parts, and soil. The grief and fear was frozen in my eyes. Now, only a few moments left in my hands. I want to live sweet memories of love, I want to smile at least for a while. I want to forget my pain and grief. Dear, I want you to remember forever my loving face and glittering eyes as they were when we met for the first time. Smile, my dear, make me smile before my eyes are closed forever. Thank you. Swati ji, thank you for this very, very beautiful and powerful poem. Thank you. Both the poems were beautiful, this one particularly. We now call upon Margaret Saine from USA. Margaret writes and translates in 6 languages, including Portuguese, translating other poets in between. She has, to her credit, numerous poems in English, French, and Spanish. She has also published a childhood memoir in Germany. Margaret, we welcome you to the stage.
Thank you very much for inviting me. I'm delighted to be here. It's 7:00 a.m. here in California, so I had to get up early. My first poem that I will read was published in an Indian anthology called 7 Leaves, One Autumn, and it contains poems by 7 world poets and was edited by Sukrita Paul Kumar and Savita Singh 10 years ago, more or less. This is called Crystal Cove, California. Let me kill an ant here. It's not very nice for me. Sand, patient to the impatient imprint of water. Rivulets, etching light and dark panes. Aureoles branch off, stretch to leafy designs. Sand that the water ferries grain for grain out to sea, and water carries it back, settling concentric, dripping, sliding hill surround restless rivulet springs, and slipping through placid puddles left by the surge of the last tide. Sand, a tacit river, overwhelmed itself to and fro by the tide. I just published a French book in Montreal and a Spanish book in Madrid. My earlier books is called Gardens of the Earth, and it's about plants. And I'm always distressed because in the United States, the kids don't learn botany. They have no idea. They show you a tulip and it's a rose, you know. It's very unfortunate. So here's a poem about poems about clouds, including one about Nuages by Claude Debussy, but this one is another one. There is no plain, there is no strait when clouds take over the sky. Their lush curves caress my eyes as they dance by twists and turns. They budge and budge, they loom and lumber. I breathe them with delight. Their vapors sag in swelling pillows, in puffy pudding cloud bank sofas, streaked a soft cross-hatched. If I had a sofa like that one. Their hovering punches jut up ice gray in heavy fists, then sink into plodding puddings until they jettison their liquid ballast. Now their color mutes into white, now a creamy, shiny, buttery hue, pristine and incorrect eyesight, fallen snow on the horizon, a slant of muted sunlight shining through. And my
Thank you,
final
Margaret.
poem is from my... Thank you very much.
Yes. We now move on back to Miss Ghai, Miss Nilambri Ghai. You're there?
Yes, I am.
Yeah. Please continue with your
Is
reading.
this working better? I hope.
Yes.
Let's start again. So, a big thank you to Kritya for inviting me, first of all. And I live in Ottawa, but I have spent over 15 years in Montreal as well. It's in Canada, in the province of Quebec. And I'm going to read 3 poems. The first one is called Metro Clown, and it is based in the underground train system in Montreal. And train stations such as Berry are large, busy, intersecting terminuses, whereas stations like Lionel Groux and Saint Laurent are small and less frequented. My second poem is called Bird Daughter, and it is a conversation between a mother and a daughter who has moved away to a distant land. And my third poem is called On Reading Munto and Munro. It is written in the form of dramatic verse and is based on stories written by Alice Munro, who is an award-winning short story writer from Canada, and Saadat Hasan Manto, a well-known writer of stories from India's partition. Munro's story, The Children's Stay, reflects the thoughts of a mother returning to her adult children after having left them and their dad for her passionate love for the theater. While in Manto's Black Shalwar, Sultana is desperate for she has lost her clients and finds herself alone and penniless in Delhi. So Metro Clown. I wait for the first one to throw something into my hat and others follow. Sometimes I think people are shy to give. I cannot make as much as the violinist on Station Berry, or the woman on stilts who has found a good spot at McGill. I am just the clown on Sherbrooke and St. Laurent. Then there are those who play any old thing but are given something, I guess, to compensate for life that passed them by. But I am just a clown with a painted face that fails to touch most generous souls. There is Christmas, when you can make the most, especially if you sing carols in French and English on Peel and Lionel Groux. Saint Laurent is different. Even Christmas brings little to a clown. I am a clown, a metro clown on Sherbrooke and Saint Laurent. Peel, McGill, Berry might be better, but not for me a clown. I cannot find a busy spot. I have few lucky days. I paint my face to hide and sing and keep it from decay. For who knows the color, the skin of the clown? Who knows she transformed from black to white? Who knows she hides beneath the paint? Who knows she eats or does not eat? Who knows she talks to herself to heal her broken heart? Who knows she hates her youth? Who knows she sleeps on concrete floors? Who knows she loves the metro walls? The second poem, Bird Daughter. Oh, look at my wings, dearest mother. I can soar, I can fly, can't you see? Oh, I like being me, dearest mother. I can lift, climb, and dive. I am free. Your little nest seems so very small now, and the fresh air without feels so good. Oh, my heart beats so fast when I swoop down at the sight of a bird like myself. And when will you return, oh my daughter? Oh, when will you return? When the warm April air from the mountains will breathe life into dry, leafless branches, when the red and orange flowers from rhododendrons will set all flower trees up in flames, when the eerie, lonely howls of hungry jackals combine with nagaras and the flute, when these echo from atop the lofty mountains, oh, will you not come back to them again? But the world looks so different to me now. Every day a new adventure does unfold. I cannot now return to your little home in the clouds on lonely hills alone. I will swim instead the tides of stormy oceans and skim across smooth sandy desert lands. I will fly atop the highest mountain peaks and scan the red horizons of the sun. I can see the monsoon enter through the window, the same one through which you always watched how the big, long-tailed, leaf-eating langur jumped with ease from pines to firs to deodars. The same little crack in that window has weathered many rains and thunderstorms. Nothing much has changed since you left home. Nothing ever has been the same. Oh, when will you return? Oh, my daughter, oh, when will you return? The sunsets all have faded, O sweet mother, and my wings are now heavy and worn. The hot desert air stings with each blast, and the little birds aren't little anymore. When the old snowy winds keep blowing harder, when the parched sticky earth begs for rain, when the birds fly away and I am left by myself to take care of all the pain, or when the eggs in my nest start to open, and my little chicks cry constantly for food. When I turn to be like you, oh sweet mother, I'll fly back to your nest once again. My third and last poem is on reading Manto and Munro. How now you ask me why I left your dad and you, my pretty ones. That's right, I was Eurydice, but it was not because of Orphe. He was just another actor like myself. But there was another, and when he touched me, I came to life like never before. Or was it death? I don't know. There was something in the way he said things, or perhaps it was simply because I was bored dead and mistook the first signs of life for love. Once having left, there was no turning back, for when he did, yes, Orphe looked back, and Eurydice turned to stone. But of course, I told you, didn't I? It wasn't Orphe. He was just another actor like myself. Then why did I leave you, my precious ones? Did I not love you enough? I don't think I understand anymore. After all, they are all gone. Orphe, your dad, and the one who was not Orphe. The only ones left are you and me and these endless, unanswerable questions. I need a black silk shalwar for Muharram Khuda Baksh. I already have a white dupatta and kameez. I can dye them back, but I need 4.5 yards of black silk. Find it from me for somewhere, anywhere. I don't care. I cannot rest until I have my shalwar for Muharram Khuda Baksh. I stand all day staring down this balcony. My smiles are dry and thin. No one comes up, not even when I call and beckon him thus with my eyes. This is Delhi. Men here go home to their wives. I told you we should not have left Ambala Cant, where Goda Sahibs from the officers' mess paid 30 rupees for each round. I could even call them Haramzade and Ullu ke Pathe. They only laughed an embarrassed laugh because they did not understand. We will starve in Delhi. There are no customers here except Shankar. But he wants everything for nothing, and I am so tired I give it to him. You have sold the last gold bangle of my wrist. There is nothing more left for me to give you, Khuda Baksh. Find me a black shalwar or 4.5 yards of black silk. I can arrange for a black dupatta and kameez for Muharram. Khuda Baksh. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you so much. What a beautiful concept you have woven with that poetry. Munro and Manto, who could ever forget that story? And of course, the earlier poems resonating with this beautiful fragrance of rhododendrons and the sound of flute and nagada. Thank you so much, Nilambri. Thank you. We now call upon Hannie Rouweler from Netherlands. Hannie is a Dutch language poet. She's also a translator. She has published numerous collections of poetry, including translations in more than 35 languages. She mixes observations from reality with imagination and gives a point to her feelings and findings. Hani, we welcome you.
Yes. Okay, thank you very much. I'd like to thank you for the invitation and say hello to everyone in India. Good evening or good day. And I like to welcome also and to say hello to all my colleagues in this program. I will read very short poems this time, but I write actually prose poetry already for over 10 years, but I started with tiny, small poems, and some of them rhyme. But I change like everyone changed. So I read now three very short poems, and it's love poems, quite extraordinary, and I start from different point of views. Even start with a guy, and with my imagination, and I start with the evening, and I start with what I see in the evening, and in the end, I come on the road of love, because I believe that love is very important, maybe the most important thing in life. But sometimes it comes late, and sometimes it's complex, and it sometimes takes many detours. So I will start my short readings. And I like to thank Smitha for the introduction. And she will, I could read in English, of course, and also in Dutch, but I will read the Dutch version, and she will read the English and later the Hindi, I believe. So I start. It's called Evening Chant, avondgezang. De reus die met zijn lange wilde armen heen en weer zwaait, zoals de jonge groene boom, die steeds vliegt in de wind in de straat, een vogel in de donkerende lucht die laag over de daken scheert, voordat hij een plek vindt ergens in een struik voor de nacht. Het hondje met lampjes aan de halsband dat nog wordt uitgelaten door zijn baas. Het pratende stijl achter verlicht glas bij het grasveld dat spullen opruimt in de keuken en woonkamer. Alles zegt mij dat jij nog blijft en dat jij niet weggaat, omdat alles erop wijst dat je blijft.
Yes.
And
Thank
now
you, Hani.
the English version is for you, or do I read it?
As you wish. You may read.
I read the English version?
You may read English version, if you please. Otherwise, I can read.
Oh, I prefer you do. You
Okay,
have the
thank you.
text, okay? That's
Thank
very
you.
nice if you could do it.
Evening chant. The giant who with his long wild arms sways back and forth like the young green tree that keeps swaying in the wind in the street. A bird in the darkening sky that low skims over the rooftops before it finds a resting place in a bush for the night. The dog with the lights on the collar that is walked by his boss. The talking couple behind lit glass across the lawn that cleans up things in the kitchen and living room. Everything tells me that you will stay and that you don't leave because everything indicates that you are staying.
Okay. The next one is this morning, hè? Deze ochtend. Vannacht werd ik ineens wakker. Ik moest naar de wc. Ja, natuurlijk, kan gebeuren. En struikelde over een kat in de keuken. Vond een paar koekjes op het aanrecht en ging even naar buiten. Licht kwam op in het oosten, boven de daken en bomen in mijn straat. Ik dacht aan jou, ik dacht aan ons. Het leek alsof de zon zo vroeg was opgestaan om ons welkom te heten.
Thank you. The translation, आज सुबह by रति सक्सेना. रात को मैं अचानक जाग गई. हाँ, जाहिर है मुझे शौचालय जाना था, पर रसोई में एक बिल्ली पर फिसल गई. मैं काउंटर पर मिली कुछ कुकीज ले बाहर चली गई. पूरब से छतों पर और मेरी गली में पेड़ों पर उजाला हुआ। मैंने तुम्हारे बारे में और हमारे बारे में भी सोचा। ऐसा महसूस हुआ जैसे हमारे स्वागत के लिए सूरज जल्दी उग आया है। Over to Hani, please.
Okay. En dan Dreams on Sunday. Dromen op zondag. Ik droomde jou. Jij droomde mij. We zaten samen op de hei. Ik droomde jou in je eigen huis, zo ver van hier, zo ver dichtbij. Ik weet, je kijkt gewoon tv, autoraces. Maar als je opstaat van je stoel, jij droomde mij. Op het tapijt dat overal naartoe vliegt en neerstrijkt langs de rand van ons gedroomde bed en vrijheid.
Thank you. रविवार के सपने, ट्रांसलेशन बाय रति सक्सेना। मैंने तुम्हारी कल्पना की, तुमने सपने में मुझे देखा। हम मरुस्थल में एक साथ बैठे थे। मैंने तुम्हें सपने में यहाँ से दूर तुम्हारे घर में देखा। मैं जानती हूँ जब तुम अपनी कुर्सी से उठते हो, टीवी पर कार दौड़ देखते हो। तुमने सपने में मुझे एक कालीन पर देखा जो हमारी आज़ादी सपनों के पलंग के किनारे की जमीन स्पर्श करते हुए चारों ओर उड़ता है।
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Hannie. Very lovely imagery on all the poems, evening chant this morning, and the dreams of Sunday, dreaming of each other. Thank you. We now call upon Sylvia. Sylvia Eugina Castellero from Mexico. Sylvia is a Mexican poet and a prominent face in Latin American poetry. She has authored numerous books of essays and poems. She is also a director of literary magazine Lavina of University of Guadalajara. Thank you, Sylvia. Please welcome us.
Hello, thank you very much for the invitation. I speak Spanish, donc Río Sena. Reconozco esta hora. Llegaba en amarillo a los troncos veteados. Luego se inclinaba como agua en un hilado de gotas. A la piedra del puente un sol le rasguñaba a esta hora. La volvía árbol, mano añosa. En sus paredes se formaban quejas, congojas, gorjeos, goznes, ninguneos de los pájaros, gritos y gárgaras, cáscaras de plumaje, casualidades del tiempo vuelto agua. Reconozco esta hora como un relieve detrás de la neblina. La luz precisa me cerca el corazón. La hora pasa y oxida el agua, empuja los reflejos a la orilla. Agua afilada, vuelta a fragmentos, que desde el borde buscan fondo y allí permanecen con su gesto negro de piedra que se abre. Luz amurallada sobre el río.
Yes, Tsunami. Translation, Rati Saxena.
River Sand?
Reverse. नदी दृश्य। मैं पहचानती हूँ इस घड़ी को जो चुपके से दरकत के दारी तने पर पीलेपन में उतरकर झुक जाती है पानी में। बूंदों की डोर बन पुल के सिल पर सूरज उकेरेगा ये घड़ी। दरखत में बदलता हुआ एक लकड़ हाथ अपनी दीवार बनाता हुआ उस पर टांगता है। दुख, उदासी और युद्ध, चिड़ियों की उदासी, क्रंदन और चहचहाहट, परों के चितड़े, वक्त की खुशी पानी को बनाती है। मैं पहचानती हूँ इस घड़ी को कोहरे से राहत की तरह ये रोशनी को भेदता हुआ मेरे जिगर में बैठता है। घड़ियां बीतती है पानी में जंग लगाती हुई, परछाइयों को तटों पर धकेलती हुई। चाकू की धार सा जल खुशबूदार जो किनारों पर गहराइयों को लंबित करती है और श्यामल भाव भंगिमा से वहां रहती है। रोशनी नदी पर भीत सी खड़ी हो गई। सिल्विया प्लीज।
Angelus. Era, no era, un jardín. Era el inicio. Volteamos en la noche la esquina, sumergida, en ahogo casi, bajo la crecida de la enredadera. Era desbocada la corriente. Eran tus sílabas, tus verbos. Era tu mano amplia. Era un aguacero dentro. Era ya de una vez la nostalgia de tu tacto y la vida. Era un peñasco en desbandada. Eran tus dedos. Era el tiempo. Duraba. Era esa esquina. Era, no era, el inicio. Era este día sin esquina. Eran los instantes arrebatados, caídos. Era tu silueta gastada. Eras el dios nocturno. Desde la cúpula, en la capilla, en cada gotear de la luz sobre lo negro, eres la razón de arrodillarme.
Tsunami. It was a small world, rain vaporizing inside my nostrils. My half-open eyes exposed to the splintered elements. Then came the avalanche of forceful debris. Debris? Aggression, a violent basin of waterfall that fled into the sky, then fell, absurd, broken, torn from a poised cosmos. Whiplashing, blowing fury from some foul, dark hole, spewing all its rancor from an abyss into our faces. Falling onto our mouths, we could neither speak nor articulate fingers or knees, kneeling before the tumultuous water. Drops threaded one after other in a vortex of current. We raised our voices in prayer, but they faded prayer, plummeted into the rock depths, thrashed by the brusque, guillotine fall of water. That sharp curtain, almost a lance, is sword on our backs, falling ruthlessly, not knowing the subtlety of falling without vertical lines at sharp angles. Water, current, scraps of fury out of the dark side of heavens. From the missing link of paradise, from a dislocated, abrupt life left beyond known, familiar spaces. Lashings, scalpels, knives, guillotines, and disappearances right there, in the heart of the river, of the jungle of the sea, conquered. The water pouring out its sorrow, its hard heart, poisoning the cascades that, like vines, beat our bodies into darkness. Involuble deluge, brutal apocalypse. We were run through by death. Sylvia.
Tajo. Tiene que haber sido el mar con su furia. Arrastró de tajo las formas, la lengua, la plegaria matinal. Tiene que haber sido esa descomunal mente de cristal en pedazos. Labriego insoluto, huérfano océano, desbordó la intimidad. Rabioso horadó los herrajes de la noche. Furia venida del espesor de arenas y rocas, con su perfil de resaca nos dejó sin costa, sin muelles, en la abstracta posición del alba. Gorsh.
Morning, translated by Rati Saxena. Downriver this darkness bores into heart. Sinking its metallic claws, sharpened, it knives, frees out any attempts at life, sign of balms, sunflowers, rival stained glass windows. Tattered water, without light hounded me, shield me, cowardly black. My hands abandon, steps frozen solid. The moon turns it black and balances something unattainable. Down river, I sink, not seeing my reflection, feeling only the bustle of blackness over my desire. A deafening touch, my cells bound, gagged until I scream, and so with sharp rocks, I decompress my nerves. That is when I leave.
Sorry to say that I have not translated into English. I have translated only in Hindi, and Sylvia has given all English translation by I do not know who has translated. So please find out that who has translated into English. I have
Yes.
translated from English to Hindi only.
Yes, ma'am.
Wonderful,
Yes.
wonderful poetry, Sylvia. Wonderful.
Thank you, Sylvia. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Now
you.
now we call upon Mandakini Pachori. Mandakini joins us from Vienna. She is an avid writer and she has presented poetry in various prestigious forums. And she is inspired by poetry by the edge of forests in Vienna. Mandakini.
And I'm particularly happy and proud to read 4 poets. These are 2 small poems that I wrote last year in 2020. And I spent a lot of time in the forest, and this is related to my idea of resistance. Resistance that I feel that nature will prevail, the resistance that order and beauty and peace and love will prevail. So my first poem is titled Ohm. Ohm is the physical unit of resistance in physics. So electrical resistance. I do not need to look to know the wildflowers closed overnight. They lie gathered on a brass plate, huddled like fallen children. They keep time with the wild cherry trees, white day fireworks in ciliated larches, beaches stretch lurid green. A single bird lifts high above the horizon. I have left the womb of night in haste. I overturned the red cup, poured and spread a shattered sky in the east. Lately, I have begun to see a pair of turtle doves fly from high firs in the west. They climb and hold the air. With each wing beat, they leave my field of vision. This is the world worth fighting for. The second poem is called Power as a Function of Resistance. In the breathing forest, I walk the trodden path, observant of life emergent on all sides. A pale outline follows far behind. A white-haired woman draws nearer and passes. I stop and wait to let her go. Rain is my sunshine. It pinpoints leaves in the canopy of superimposition. Tiny explosions drizzle on my rain-coated body. A fragrance of wild herbs I have crushed almost every day in passing. My nostrils fill with memory. My mouth opens, a ring-necked dove coos and stops the rain, fills the gaps in gentle swells. Too beautiful to stop listening and separate from the scene. Another younger woman strides uphill behind me. A soft hello, and she's gone, her eyes wide, camera in hand. I linger by the candelabra, elderflower, wet and swaying. Bitterness I know well, before the curative dark swell. So, thank you very much. I hope
Thank
I
you,
could bring you to the forest with me.
Yes, thank you, Mandakini. Very beautiful poems, full of imagery, full of life. Thank you. We now call upon Mr. Azeem Thannimoodu. His video will be played. Mr. Azeem Thannimoodu is a very distinguished poet and journalist and recipient of various prestigious awards. His poetry is in Malayalam. After the poetry in Malayalam plays on the video, Kritya team will provide the translation.
Because this Azeem, he is a journalist, so he cannot come. This is the time when they have to work in the office, so he cannot come. So he has sent his video with his poetry, and it's a beautiful rhythm of Malayalam language, which is the South Indian very beautiful language. And after this video, Smitha will read the English translation of that poem. So I will take you out for his video. Thank you very much.
All the best Kritya International Poetry Festival. I am Azeem Thannimoodu from Kerala, India. My heartiest wishes to all eminent poets who are participating in this session. Margaret Saine, Nilambri Ghai-USA, Hannie, Rouweler, Pratishtha, Pandya, Swati, Deepak, Damodare. Greetings to all. Especially I would like to thank the famous poet Radhi Saxena ma'am who invited me in this session. Indian poetry is, as well as Malayalam poetry, is very broad and different. I share the joy of being able to represent it. Nothing more to say because of the lack of time. I shall sign off this session after reading some of my poems. Thank you. First one, Jalamaram. Water tree, Jalamaram. ദുരൂഹ ജീവിതം മടുത്തൊരു ജലത്തുടിപ്പു ചെന്നൊരു കിണറ്റിലൂറുന്നു കിണറിനുള്ളിലെ ഇരുണ്ട വൃത്തത്തിൽ നിറഞ്ഞ ഭാരതയ്ക്കഴക് നെയ്യുന്നു ദുരൂഹ ജീവിതം മടുത്തൊരു ജലത്തുടിപ്പു ചെന്നൊരു കിണറ്റിലൂറുന്നു കിണറിനുള്ളിലെ ഇരുണ്ട വൃത്തത്തിൽ നിറഞ്ഞ ഭാരതയ്ക്കഴക് നെയ്യുന്നു തുളുമ്പുവാനൊന്നു പരന്നൊഴുകുവാൻ കൊതിക്ക് ബന്ധനച്ചുമാരിളകുന്നു കൊതിക്ക് ബന്ധനച്ചുമാരിളകുന്നു തെളിച്ചമോടതിൻ പളുങ്കുഭാവന പുളയ്ക്കവേ അതാ വിദൂരവാനിട പരപ്പും ഭൂതലക്കിളിർപ്പും ആശ്ചര്യഭരിതമോടെ വന്നതിനെ നോക്കുന്നു മനസ്സഴുന്തിലും മിനുസമായി സർവം പകർത്തി ജീവനെ പുലർത്തുവാനാരോ വിധിക്കുന്നു ജലം അതിൽ മുഴുകുന്നു പതിവു കാഴ്ചകൾ പകർത്തി ബിംബിച്ചിപ്പിച്ചടിമുടി അത് ചെടിച്ചു പോകുന്നു പതിവു കാഴ്ചകൾ പകർത്തി ബിംബിപ്പിച്ചടിമുടി അത് ചെടിച്ചു പോകുന്നു മുടങ്ങിടാതിടക്കിണങ്ങുവാനെത്തിയിരുന്നവരെങ്ങൻ ഉയർന്നു നോക്കുന്നു നിയതമാമൃത്തം നിശൂന്യത മാത്രം നിയതമാമൃത്തം നിശൂന്യത മാത്രം തടവറയിലെ ഇരുണ്ട ജീവിതം വെറുത്തത് ചുറ്റും മിഴി പരതുമ്പോൾ തടവറയിലെ ഇരുണ്ട ജീവിതം വെറുത്തത് ചുറ്റും മിഴി പരതുമ്പോൾ തൊടിയിലെ ആഴത്തണുവിലായൊരു നനഞ്ഞ വിത്തിൻ്റെ മനസ്സു കാണുന്നു. കിളിർത്തുയരുവാൻ അതുമിടിക്കുന്നു. ശിഖരം വീശി ഈ പരിമിതി കടന്നുയർന്നു പോകുവാൻ പരിശ്രമിക്കുന്നു. നനവേറെ കിണിഞ്ഞ് അതിൻ്റെ ആഗ്രഹപ്പെരുക്കത്തിനൊപ്പം മുഴുകുന്നു ജലം. നനവേറെ കിണിഞ്ഞതിൻ്റെ ആഗ്രഹപ്പെരുക്കത്തിനൊപ്പം മുഴുകുന്നു ജലം. കിളിർക്കുന്നു വിത്ത്, കുതിക്കുന്നു ഹൃത്ത്, ഉടൽ വളർന്നേറി കിണർ കടക്കുന്നു. ഉടൽ വളർന്നേറി കിണർ കടക്കുന്നു. ഹൃദയം ബിംബിച്ച പ്രതീതിയിൽ ജലം അതിനെ നെഞ്ചേറ്റി തെളിയുമ്പോൾ തൊടി നിറയെ വിത്തുകൾ നനയുന്നു. ദൃശ്യസമൃദ്ധികൾ അതു പകരുന്നു. കണ്ടു മറന്നവർ വീണ്ടും തെളിഞ്ഞുദിക്കുന്നു. ജലമരം കടപുഴകി വീഴുന്നു. ജലമരം കടപുഴകി വീഴുന്നു. മനം കലങ്ങിയ ജലത്തിലെ ദൃശ്യം അടിമുടി അഴിഞ്ഞ് ഒഴിഞ്ഞു പോകുന്നു.
This very beautiful poem has been translated by A.J. Thomas, very distinguished Indian poet. The title of the poem is Water Tree, and I read some very beautiful excerpts from here. The spring that got tired of an esoteric life oozes at the bottom of well. It fills in the dark circle of the wells inside and weaves beauty onto its vastness. As it yearns to brim over, to flow spreading around, the wall of confinement move. As its crystal imagination waxes in clarity, that distance expanse of the sky, and the green sprouts on the earth. Look at it, filled with surprise. Only the defined circle, eternal void. The seed sprouts, the heart quickens. Those who had once met and then forgotten each other after their tryst, rise once again in clarity. The water tree is uprooted and it falls. That vision in water comes totally undone, and its mind shattered, it leaves the sea. Thank you.
Thank you, Smitha. Such a wonderful session is this. One thing let me explain that, let me tell you that we are poets, and whatever technical hints come on the way are also poetic. It shows that how much problem technology comes on the way of poets. They will never say no, or they will just win over that. So another thing that we are reading in small place, small mobile, or in some ordinary laptop. So there we are not in a studio. So we are tend to make little noise, little mistake. So we should be proud of it. We should not feel ashamed that, oh, why this happened and what it happened. People who are listening to us to understand the poets are human, pure human, even it is technology. We fight to technology. So this session was extremely, extremely important. Every session is very good, but the language is why. Because in Kritya always believes in language, difference. The language is our rivers, and rivers are life. A Pratishtha Pandey, beautiful, imaginary, and with a lot of images. Is Gujarati, one of the very prominent language. Mahatma Gandhi's language, she has written. Then Swati Damodare has written in Marathi, Maharashtra. If you see that our Lokmanya Tilak, it's a very strong, which is Bombay, that language she has written. We have come, Margaret, from US, sorry Margaret, to wake you up in such a morning. I'm very, very sorry. Your poems are lovely, but we could not, because of some noise and some disturbance, but we will like to hear again sometime. Then Sylvia, your poems are fantastic, and People actually in India feel that the international language of poetry is English. They do not know the international language of poetry is Spanish. That is why we have done the Central American Poetry Festival. That was fantastic, fantastic, fantastic. Because they are fighting for even their identity because Spanish is not their language, and they are bringing back their identity in the language which is forced on them, Spanish. They are not Spanish people in South America or Mexican and and Mid Central America. But the fantastic poetry in the world is written in Spanish because they are living, they are fighting, they are struggling. So thank you, Sylvia. Thanks a lot. Nilambri Ghai, thanks a lot for beautiful poetry. Actually, in poetry, bringing Manto is a very special thing because Manto is very, we love Manto and you are bringing poetry. So Hani is not here. There's all this technical hinge, but this is the problem of this. The last poet was in Malayalam. You can find out that he was talking about the trees, river trees, and then his poem was also musical. That like he had three poems, but because without music, without his voice, I didn't like to read only the meaning because some poems are in rhythm. In rhythm of the poetry is not only the words, and they are something. Mandakini, so many people want your poetry because it is very spiritual and very beautiful. So, and they please you can give them to their poetry. Please watch this afterward and find out that who wants your poetry, and you can please share to them. So this session is very important. Every session is very important for me, and this session is also very important. And Smitha, you have done wonderful job. You look so beautiful also, and you know that Smitha is South Indian, lives in North India, and she knows 4 or 5 Indian languages. So this is how she knows the poetry better in a better span of places, languages. So thank you, friends. Thanks a lot. We will meet somewhere again, maybe in Kritya itself. Somewhere I invite again. And Sylvia, we want to listen to you in a detail. Margaret, again, Nilambre, all of you. It is possible because we have Kritya talks also, and then we will invite you at least 2 and 3 poets only, so that we can enjoy your poetry in detail. So thanks a lot, friends, for joining me in this beautiful evening. Thanks all the audience who were very active, and thank you again.